The new roommate from the stars. Jake never expected to live with an alien. He had just moved to a cheap housing unit near the outer district of New Terra City. Rent was high everywhere, but this place was different. Clean, quiet, and oddly low-priced. The landlord smiled when Jake signed the lease. "There's just one condition," he said. "You'll be sharing with an off-world exchange student. She's special. Just follow the rules." Jake didn't think much of it. He just wanted a bed and a kitchen. Nothing else mattered. But the moment he opened the door to apartment 9B, everything changed. She stood there, tall and still, like a shadow waiting. Her skin was pale blue with a faint shimmer, and her eyes were silver, without pupils. Her long black hair fell over her shoulders like strands of liquid night. She didn't smile. She just looked at him. "You must be Jake," she said. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. Yeah. And you are?" "I am Sorry, from the Shari species. I am your roommate. We keep to ourselves. No touching. No questions about homeworld. No entering each other's rooms." She turned and walked away. Jake stood there with his bag still on his back. He blinked. That was it? No handshake? No welcome? He dropped his stuff in the living room and glanced around. The place looked normal. 2 bedrooms, shared bathroom, small kitchen. But there was something strange. Faint markings on the walls, like writing, glowing softly in green. That night Jake couldn't sleep. He kept hearing soft humming sounds from Sari's room. Sometimes it sounded like music. Other times, like whispering. The next morning, Sari was in the kitchen. She stood silently, staring out the window. Her plate had something that looked like glowing berries. Jake poured coffee and tried to break the silence. "So, how long have you been on Earth?" She didn't look at him. 4 moons. I am here for learning, nothing more." Jake laughed nervously. "Right, just learning, just roommates." She turned her head. "Exactly, just that." But her eyes lingered too long. Days passed. Jake tried to ignore the weird rules. Sari stayed in her room during the day and came out only at night. She never used the TV, never made noise. But he could feel her presence, watching, listening. One evening, while reaching for a cup, Jake accidentally brushed her hand. Her fingers froze. Her entire body stiffened. Her eyes slowly lifted to meet his. "You touched me," she said in a whisper. "It was an accident, sorry." "No. You touched me." The air felt colder. Sari turned and walked to her room. She didn't eat that night, or the next. Jake started noticing things. Her room's door was always shut, but strange light leaked from the edges, blue, soft, pulsing like a heartbeat. At night, her voice echoed softly, not speaking, chanting. Then, one night, he woke up to a noise. Like claws tapping on the floor, he sat up. Silence. He got out of bed and stepped into the hallway. Her door was cracked open. Light spilled out, soft blue, shifting like water. He moved closer and peeked. Sari sat in the middle of her room. Her skin was glowing. Her hair floated, like it was underwater. Symbols on the walls moved on their own, glowing brighter, and in her hands she held something sharp, a metal shard covered in writing. Jake stepped back quickly, heart racing. But as he turned, her head snapped toward the door. Their eyes met. "You saw," she said. "Now the bond will begin." Jake slammed the door to his room and locked it. His heart thundered in his chest. What did she mean? What bond? The next morning she was calm again, sitting in the kitchen eating glowing fruit. Jake walked in slowly. "What happened last night?" Sari didn't look up. "It was nothing, just part of my cycle." "Cycle of what?" She stood and walked toward him. "You don't need to understand, you just need to stay out of my room, that's the rule, you broke it." Jake didn't reply. He didn't know what to say. She stepped even closer. "We are just roommates," she said, her voice soft. "But in my kind's way, touching starts the path, a path that cannot be undone." Jake felt cold all over. "What path?" She didn't answer. She turned and walked away. That night under his bed, Jake found a small metal plate. Carved into it were strange marks. He scanned it with his translator app. The words changed on the screen slowly. Chosen. Marked. Life bond. Begins. Jake dropped the plate. His hands were shaking. He looked toward her room. A low hum was coming through the wall, and her voice was whispering again. The touch that changed everything. Jake couldn't sleep. The metal plate still lay on the floor beneath his bed. The translation echoed in his mind like a warning he didn't understand. Chosen. Marked. Life bond begins. He stared at the ceiling as strange whispers hummed through the wall again. Sari's room was glowing faintly, the blue light sliding under her door like fog. Whatever was happening in there, it wasn't normal. It wasn't human, and it all started when he touched her hand. Just one accidental touch. The next morning, Sari was already in the kitchen. But today, something was different. She had changed her clothes. Before, she always wore dark robes or simple clothes. Now she wore something silver, tight-fitting and covered in thin lines that looked like moving wires. Her eyes looked brighter. Her skin shimmered more than usual. Her movements were slower, almost like she was floating. Jake walked in, his voice tense. "We need to talk." She didn't turn. "We already spoke." "No, we didn't. You said I started a path, and then I find this?" He pulled out the metal plate and tossed it on the table. Sari looked at it. Her face didn't change. "You found it early. That wasn't meant to be seen yet." Jake leaned forward. "What does it mean? Life bond? Chosen?" "I touched your hand, Sari, that's all. Are you saying that's enough to make you, what, imprint on me?" Finally, she turned. When a Shari female is touched with bare skin during her growth cycle, and if the connection is not rejected within a moon's turn, the bond begins. Jake blinked. "Rejected? What does that mean?" "It means," she said quietly, "I gave you one day to pull away, to fear me, to leave. But you stayed. You ate near me, spoke kindly. You touched me again, and you watched me at night." Jake's mouth opened, but no words came. She stepped closer. "The bond is not love, it is not romance. It is soul marking, a connection that goes beneath flesh. We do not form it often. Most Shari die without bonding. But when it starts, we cannot stop it." Jake backed away, heart pounding. "You mean I'm stuck with you now?" She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, "Can you feel it yet?" "What?" "The change." Jake opened his mouth to argue, but stopped because he did feel something. A warmth in his chest, a strange ache behind his eyes. He had been tired all day, but now, standing near her, it was like his blood moved faster. His skin tingled. He could feel her breath even from across the room. "I'm not like you," he said. "I'm human. And yet, you are changing." That night, Jake locked his bedroom door again. He told himself he would move out, break the lease, go to the embassy. Surely there was a law against alien bonds without consent. But the next morning, his apartment door wouldn't open. He tried his code. Nothing. The pad just blinked red. He grabbed his tablet and opened the lease again. He scrolled fast, then stopped. A line at the bottom, newly added. Unit 9B, Shari claim identified. Lease voided until resolution of bonding protocol. His hands went cold. He stormed into the hallway, but Sari was already waiting for him. "You tried to leave," she said softly. Jake stepped back. "Did you lock me in?" "The system locked you in," she said. "You belong to someone now." Jake raised his voice. "You don't own me." "No," she said gently, "but I claimed you. That is different." Later that day, Jake sat at the small dining table thinking. Sari was in her room again, humming softly. He could feel it in the walls now, like the sound wasn't just in his ears, but inside his chest. He opened his messages and tried to contact a human legal rep. No response. He tried calling his boss to explain he'd be late. Call blocked. He tried the human Shari embassy. The line picked up. A calm male voice spoke. This is the Office of Interspecies Relations. Do you carry a Shari mark? Jake almost dropped the phone. No, well, I don't think so. I touched one. She said something about bonding. She's locking me in. The voice was quiet for a moment. Then, do you feel tired? Headaches? Emotions that aren't yours? Jake froze. Yes. Then the bond has begun. You're already connected. What can I do to stop it? Silence. Then the voice said, You can't. You can only break it before the fourth phase. But to do that, and she must let you go willingly. Jake lowered the device slowly. She had no reason to let him go. That night, he opened her door. He had to see. Sari was kneeling, her body glowing like silver fire. Symbols circled her. She looked not human, not even close. Her bones had shifted. Her eyes now had rings of light in them. She turned slowly. You came. I want answers, Jake said. His voice was weak. She stood. Then listen. The bond cannot be broken. Jake stood in the doorway of her room, frozen. The light inside Sari's chamber moved like water, slow and glowing. Strange symbols circled her in the air, floating and shifting, as if alive. Her body looked different, now not monstrous, but more. Her skin glowed with blue patterns like veins of living crystal. Her hair no longer moved with gravity, but floated around her like black mist. She stepped toward him, her silver eyes glowing with layered rings of soft light. You came during the transition, she said. No other human has ever done that. You're stronger than I thought. Jake swallowed hard. His voice cracked. What is this? What are you doing to me? The bond is changing you, Sari whispered. It's making us compatible. Jake shook his head. I didn't ask for this. No, she said softly. But the bond was accepted. That's enough for it to grow. He stepped back. I want it to stop. She blinked slowly, as if confused. You want me to die? Jake froze. What? If the bond is broken now, she said, I will fade. Not instantly, not painfully. But slowly my mind will collapse. I will forget words, faces. I will stop sleeping. Then, stop breathing. Jake stumbled out of the room, heart racing. He locked himself in his bedroom and searched everything, every file, every legal thread on the net. But most human systems had only vague warnings about bonding with non-human species. Warning: Shari females may initiate involuntary soul bonding after physical contact during heat cycles. If symptoms appear, seek mental alignment or neutral arbitration. Warning: breaking a Shari bond after Phase 3 may cause trauma or death. It was already Phase 3. Jake punched the wall. The next morning, he found Sari in the kitchen. She looked normal again. No floating hair, no glowing eyes. But there was something different in how she moved. Slower, more tired. You feel it now, don't you? She asked without turning around. Jake sat across from her. I had dreams, he said, but they didn't feel like mine. I saw your world. Firelight, snow, a mountain with no top, a girl, crying under a sky of purple stars. Sari looked at him. That was me. You're beginning to see my memories. Jake pressed his fingers against his forehead. This is too much. It's inside my head. You're inside my head. I told you, she said gently. This bond is not weak, it does not ask, it roots itself in your mind and soul, and once rooted, it can't be removed, Jake whispered. She nodded. Not without damage. and even then, pieces remain. That afternoon, Jake finally escaped the building. Somehow the front door opened. Maybe she had let it, or maybe the system had reset. Either way, Jake didn't waste the chance. He ran to the Interspecies Help Center at the edge of the city. He met with an older man, Dr. Him. He had studied Shari bonds for over 20 years. Jake explained everything. Dr. Kem looked grim. You've gone further than most humans ever survive. If she's showing you her memory, the soul thread is almost fully woven. There has to be a way to end it. There is, Dr. Kem said, but it requires her permission. She must cut the bond from her side willingly. Then I'll ask her. Dr. Kem leaned forward. You don't understand. If she does that now, she won't live long after. Her species doesn't survive the severing. Jake went cold. Then I'm trapped. You're bonded, Kem said. But maybe that's not the same thing. Jake returned to the apartment. It was dark. No lights. No humming. No warmth. He called her name once, no answer. He opened her room, empty. Only the floating symbols remained. They moved slower now, faded, dying. On the wall, a message glowed in her language. Jake held up his translator. I felt your fear. I left. It is better this way. Jake dropped the device. No, the next 2 days passed in silence. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Her voice no longer echoed in his mind. The ache in his chest stayed constant, like something had been ripped out. His room was cold now, too quiet. On the third night, he dreamed again. But this time it was only her voice. I wait in the old place, if you still feel the bond. He woke up gasping. He remembered the vision from before, the snow, the mountain, the purple sky. There was a place nearby. An off-world sanctuary. A biohabitat made to mimic alien worlds. He'd seen it once on a date with a girl long gone. Jake ran. The sanctuary was silent, locked. But he slipped in through a service path. Inside, snow fell from the sky. Artificial. Stars glowed purple above. And there, beneath the artificial mountain, stood Sari. She looked weak, pale. I couldn't cut the bond, she said softly. I wanted to set you free, but it stayed. Jake walked toward her. Why? Because part of you held it. He stopped in front of her. I thought I was losing my freedom. But after you left, it felt worse. She looked up at him. Because our bond is real now. Complete or not, it cannot be broken. Jake reached out, touching her hand. She trembled. Then, slowly, her glow returned. The symbols in the air spun faster. A soft pulse of light surrounded them both, and Jake felt it. Something deep inside him shift, not pain, not fear, connection. Visitors from her world for 3 days. Jake and Sari stayed hidden in the sanctuary. It was peaceful there, silent snow, purple skies, and no humans to ask questions. They didn't speak much, but Jake felt her thoughts now, even when she said nothing. Her bond pulsed inside him like a second heartbeat. He was scared, yes, but he didn't want to leave her again. But peace never lasts long when you're bound to something the galaxy fears. On the 4th morning, the sanctuary lights flickered. A deep humming sound echoed through the ground. Sari stood up instantly, eyes glowing. They've found me. Jake jumped to his feet. Who? My people, she said, voice tight. They know the bond has been sealed. Now, they come to test you. Before Jake could ask more, the air split open. A rip in space. A portal. 3 tall figures stepped through, each one dressed in sharp armor that shimmered like black glass. Their skin was darker than Sari's, and their eyes glowed bright red. Their bodies gave off a heat Jake could feel from meters away. The tallest one stepped forward. I am Vailka, First Warden of the Shari Life Bond Order. Jake raised his hand slowly. Okay. Not sure what that means, but I'm not here to cause trouble. Vailka's voice was like thunder wrapped in ice. You bear the bond of our daughter. Jake, looked at Sari. She didn't move, didn't speak. Veilka stepped closer. You will be judged. If unworthy, you will be removed. She will return to the Hall of Grief. Jake frowned. What's the Hall of Grief? Sari whispered. It's where bonded females go, when their mate dies or leaves. Jake's throat went dry. They live with half a soul, she added, until they stop breathing. The warden raised a metal rod. It extended like a staff. Symbols glowed along its shaft. 3 tests, he said. You pass, and she remains yours. You fail, and the bond will be severed by force. Jake felt Sari's fear. Her hands were shaking even though her face was calm. I'll do it, Jake said. I'm not letting her go again. The warden gave one nod. Begin. Test 1. Endurance of the soul. They transported him instantly. His body vanished from the snow and appeared inside a black space like a dream. Voices filled his head. Memories that weren't his. A little Shari girl crying under a shattered sky. Sari. A sharp whip cracking over her back in a cold training dome. Then silence. Then pain. Suddenly Jake felt her pain. Every wound, every scream, every lonely hour. She spent in the dark while her people trained her to be worthy of bonding. His chest burned, his head throbbed. The space whispered, leave now and the pain ends. Jake fell to his knees, but he clenched his fists. She felt this. She survived this. So will I. The pain faded. And then he woke up, back in the snow. Test. 2. Clarity of heart. A small Shari child appeared before him. Her eyes were sad. She held a glowing orb. This is her memory, the child said. See it. Understand her. The orb floated toward him. He touched it. This time he didn't just see Sari's past. He saw her waiting in a long silver room, watching Earth broadcasts, learning human jokes. He saw her smile for the first time when she heard the sound of Jake's voice on a student list. She had requested to live with him. She had chosen him before they even met. Jake opened his eyes, gasping. She knew, he whispered. She always knew. Test 3. Sacrifice of self. The warden stood before him now. To finish the bond, you must give something precious. Your voice, your name, your future. One will be sealed within her soul. Jake felt dizzy. Wait, what do you mean? If you give your voice, the warden said, you will never speak again without her permission. Your name, and you will only be known as hers. Your future, and you will never leave her world, not even after death. Jake closed his eyes. He thought of freedom. Then he thought of Sari, how she had stayed, how she had warned him, how she had tried. To protect him, he looked up. My name, he said. Let the galaxy know I belong to her. The warden struck the ground with the staff. So it is done. The portal closed. The snow stopped. The sanctuary lights faded. Jake fell to his knees, exhausted. Sari ran to him and held him tightly. Her glowing hand pressed against his chest. A warmth spread through his whole body. You gave your name, she whispered. Why? He smiled weakly. Because I didn't want to be just some guy you lived with anymore. Her eyes shimmered. You are now part of our story, she said. Forever. But as they embraced, the sky above the sanctuary shimmered once more. A 4th portal opened in the clouds. Sari pulled back suddenly. That is not my people, she whispered. A dark ship appeared overhead, long, jagged, silent. Jake stepped in front of her. Who are they? She stared up, fear rising in her voice. They are the ones who hunt bond breakers, and they do not ask questions. The escape attempt. The sky tore open with silent violence. Jake stood beside Sari as a black ship hovered above the sanctuary, casting a long shadow over the snowy world below. The ship was shaped like a blade, smooth, cold, and cruel. It made no sound, but Jake felt pressure in his ears, like something heavy pressing on his mind. Sari grabbed his arm tightly. That's a Judicator vessel, she whispered. They're not here to talk. Jake stared at the silent beast above. Who are they? They're from my own world, Sari said, her voice shaking. But they serve no people. Only the bond law. When someone forms a bond that is forbidden or unnatural, they erase it. With death. Jake's blood ran cold. You mean us? Yes, she said. Without warning, a beam of black light shot down from the ship. It didn't burn. It didn't explode. It simply removed everything it touched. Trees vanished. Snow evaporated. Ground erased. A perfect black circle formed, wide enough to fit a landing pod. Jake stepped back. We have to go. Sari turned her head quickly. There's a transport tunnel under the sanctuary. It was built for off-worlders to evacuate in case of a storm. Jake didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand. Show me. They ran through the fake snow and glowing trees toward the edge of the sanctuary. Behind them, a pod descended from the Judicator ship. It made no sound, no flame. But it came fast, and it brought fear. As they reached a large stone near the wall, Sari touched a hidden panel. The ground opened with a soft hiss, revealing a narrow spiral staircase made of black crystal. They rushed down into the tunnel below. The air grew colder. Dim blue lights lit the path, but the walls were shaking now. The Judicators were scanning the ground. They won't stop until we're found, Sari said. Jake looked ahead. Where does this tunnel lead? To the edge of New Terra, she said. To the spaceport. But the final gate is locked by genetics. Only bonded pairs can open it. Then we'll open it. Sari stopped. Jake, if we do this, we'll be fugitives. Every planet in this sector follows Judicator law. They'll brand you a bond. Thief, a violator. Jake stared at her. Do you regret this? He asked. She looked down. No. I only regret bringing danger to you. Jake touched her face gently. We'll face it together. You're not losing me. They reached the end of the tunnel. A giant circular door stood before them. It had no handle, only a handprint. Jake placed his hand on it. Nothing happened. Sari placed hers beside his. The door glowed. Lines of energy ran from their hands, weaving between them. A soft tone echoed. The door slid open, revealing a dark platform with an old transport shuttle, half covered in dust. Jake raised his eyebrows. That thing still flies? It's alien tech, Sari said. It always flies. They entered the shuttle and sat at the controls. Sari tapped the console with her glowing fingers. The ship came to life, humming softly. Jake stared at the stars above through the glass dome. Where will we go? Somewhere beyond Judicator reach, she said. There are human colonies in deep space, mixed zones. I know one. It's not safe, but it's free. Jake nodded. Anywhere is better than here. As they prepared to lift off, a red alarm lit up. Warning. Judicator signal lock detected, flight path blocked. They've locked onto our heat signature, Sari said. We won't make it out unless we break the bond now. Jake turned slowly. What? If we break the bond, she said quietly, they will stop hunting us. You'll be released. They only track us as long as our bond glows. Jake looked into her eyes. Is that what you want? Tears welled in her eyes. No, but I can't watch them destroy you for me. He grabbed her hand. Then we don't run from them. He reached for the manual control stick. We go through them. The shuttle launched into the air. The Judicator ship responded instantly. 3 smaller fighter drones detached from the mothership and zipped toward the shuttle. Jake pulled the stick hard. The shuttle dipped, dodged the first blast. Blue energy scraped the hull. Sari's fingers flew across the controls. I'm overcharging the engines. It will hurt the ship, but it will buy us seconds. The shuttle spun and shot upward, straight, into the Judicator vessel's shadow. They won't expect us to charge them, Jake shouted. They will now. A Judicator drone slammed into their right wing. Alarms blared. Jake twisted the ship hard left, sending them into a corkscrew. He saw the main judicator ship powering up a beam, a huge one. "This is it," Sari yelled. "We either make the jump now, or we burn." Jake hit the hyperdrive button. The stars stretched into lines, light filled the cabin, and the world vanished. Moments later, silence. They floated in deep space, far beyond New Terra. The stars looked different here. No nearby planets, no signals. Jake sat back, breathing hard. Sari sat beside him. She looked pale, her hands trembling. "I didn't think we'd make it," she whispered. He looked at her, then smiled weakly. "Guess we're really bonded now." She laughed softly, but her smile faded fast. "They'll still hunt us," she said. "Even here. Especially now. The bond is full. The judicators don't stop just because we ran." Jake stood slowly and walked to the front window. Far in the distance, another ship appeared. Not judicator, not human, something else. "Sorry," he said. "We've got company." She looked up. Her face went still. "That is a collector ship. What does that mean?" She turned slowly to him. "It means we just jumped into a place worse than death. The truth about the bond." The collector ship hovered in the dark like a silent predator. It had no lights, no windows, just a long rusted hull stretching through, space like a graveyard of metal and forgotten screams. Its engines didn't roar. They pulsed slowly like a dying heartbeat. It didn't broadcast a signal, no name, no warning, no sound. But Sari recognized it at once. Jake could see it in her face. "What's a collector?" he asked, voice tight. Her answer came slowly. "A collector ship hunts those who escape the judicator system, ones like us, bonded pairs that break rules. They don't kill, not right away. They keep us, study us, rip the memories apart to learn how the bond works, so they can control it." Jake stared at the ship. "Then we can't let them take us." Sari stepped toward the console. "They've already locked on. We don't have enough power to outrun them, and our jump core is still cooling." "What do we do?" She looked down, then back at him. "We surrender." Jake blinked. "What?" "I'll offer myself. If they take me alone, maybe they'll let you go." "No." Jake's voice was sharp now. "You're not doing that. They're more interested in me," she said. "They'll see you. As a side effect." He grabbed her wrist. "I'm not just a side effect, Sari. You think I chose to fight off the judicators and tear through space just to lose you now?" Her eyes shimmered with emotion. "But if they take us," she said, "they'll tear us apart from the inside. Slowly. They'll try to sever the bond molecule by molecule, memory by memory." Jake's chest tightened. "They can't," he said softly. "Because we're not just bonded. We're something more now." Sari's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Jake placed his hand over her heart. "I feel you. Even when you're not speaking, even when you're not near. I see things I never knew. And sometimes, I think you see my thoughts too." She nodded slowly. "I do." The collector ship opened a docking tunnel. It connected to their shuttle with a hiss of freezing air and red light. Jake and Sari held hands as the door opened. Inside the tunnel, everything was dark. No sounds, no crew. Just black metal walls and blinking red lights. They walked side by side. Jake whispered, "Why do they keep it so quiet?" "To disorient," she said. "They want us to lose time, lose focus." As they reached the end, the final door opened into a circular chamber with a high ceiling. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. In the center, a single being sat on a floating platform. It was not Shari, not human. Its face was featureless, except for 6 glowing eyes arranged in a triangle. Its body was thin, almost like stretched metal wrapped in skin. It didn't move, it didn't breathe, but it spoke. In both their minds. Bond anomaly detected. Cross-species merge active. Begin extraction. Sari stepped forward. "We will not be part of your experiments. Resistance not allowed. This bond is beyond regulation. Dangerous, contagious. Jake stepped in front of her. You think our bond is a disease? It is evolution. That made Jake pause. What? This merge was not natural. It happened because one soul reached for another across biological law. This is rare, and rare things must be studied. Suddenly, clamps burst from the floor. Jake and Sari were pulled apart. Jake screamed as cold metal wrapped around his chest. The pain wasn't physical, it was in his mind. Something was tugging at his memories. He saw images, his childhood, his mother's voice, his first day on Earth Station, but each memory blinked and shattered like glass. He could feel Sari's panic from across the room. Then her voice entered. His head. Jake, listen to me, you have to resist, not with your body, with your bond. How? Focus on what made us connect. The moment. The truth. The feeling. Jake closed his eyes. He remembered the night he touched her hand. He remembered her whisper, now it begins. He remembered the pain, the fear, and how she sat beside his bed when he was too sick to move. He remembered holding her in the snow and saying, I'm not running from you. A warmth spread through his chest. Suddenly, the metal snapped. Jake fell to the floor. The clamps shattered like paper. The collector creature hissed, its body flaring red. Bond strength. Unacceptable. Impossible. Sari broke free too. Her glow returned, brighter than ever before. Her eyes burned white. Jake rushed to her, but she didn't look at him, she looked at the creature. You don't understand what we are, she said. You think this is just love, just biology, just data. It's none of those things. Jake stepped beside her. Then what is it? Sari looked into his eyes. It's the first true bond ever made between human and Shari. Not because we were ordered to, not because we were designed to, but because we chose it. Jake held her hand. A wave of light burst from their palms. The chamber exploded in a pulse of force. The collector creature screamed, not in sound, but in thought. Pure pain, and then it was gone. The lights shut off. The clamps disappeared. Doors opened. The entire collector ship had gone dark. Back on their shuttle, Jake collapsed into his seat. Sari sat across from him, eyes closed. The bond between them pulsed, gently, alive, untouched, stronger than ever. Jake looked at her. I think we broke something back there. Sari nodded. We didn't just survive. We proved something. Jake frowned. Proved what? She opened her eyes. That our bond isn't just rare. It's impossible by every rule, but it exists, which means their laws are wrong. She looked into space, and soon everyone will know. But far behind them, in the shadows of space, the Judicator fleet was moving again, and this time, they were bringing more than just weapons. They were bringing a message. Break the bond. Or face the war. Jake sat in the pilot's seat of the shuttle, drifting near a dead moon in deep space. The wounds of battle, both in his body and in his mind, had not yet healed. But Sari sat close, her hand resting over his heart. That simple touch reminded him they were still alive, still together, but they both knew it wouldn't last. In the distance, scanners flickered red, multiple vessels inbound. Judicator class. Sari's voice was quiet, cold. They found us again. Jake nodded. They're not stopping. She turned to him. Because we proved something. That the bond isn't a flaw. It's freedom. He looked at her. And that freedom scares them. The Judicator fleet was not just coming to erase them, it was coming to erase the truth. 21 Judicator ships surrounded the sector within hours. Giant, black, blade-shaped vessels lined up in a pattern Jake had seen before. Back during the attack on a rebel Shari planet, one where an entire colony was wiped out in under 5 minutes. The lead ship sent a transmission. Sa'ari opened the channel. A female voice spoke, calm, cold, and final. This is High Judicator Talvarn. The bond has breached species boundaries. You have until countdown 0 to surrender the human and allow cleansing. Jake stood beside Sari. Cleansing? Sari's jaw tightened. Memory wipe. Soul sever. They don't kill anymore. They erase the parts of you that hold love. Jake's stomach twisted. Sari stared at the screen. You claim our bond is a danger, but it is you who fears what it means. The Judicator responded instantly. The bond creates chaos between species. Wars start this way. You will return, or the human will be destroyed. You have one rotation. The screen blinked off. Jake paced the shuttle. Sari leaned against the wall, her arms crossed, thinking deeply. We can't outrun them again, she said, not with this much firepower. Then we don't run, Jake said. We tell the truth. She frowned. No one listens to a fugitive and her stolen mate. But what if they had to listen? He asked. What if every species saw what the bond really was? What it can be? Sari looked up slowly. You're talking about a truth pulse. Jake nodded. The truth pulse was a rare, dangerous act, an ancient, interstellar psychic broadcast. Few species could even attempt it, but Sari was one of them, and now so was he, because of the bond. It could kill us, she warned. But if it works, Jake said, the whole galaxy sees what we see, feels what we feel, and they'll know this bond isn't poison, it's evolution. They prepared in silence. Klandi, Judicators were almost done counting. Sari took her place at the core of the ship, where the bond field generator could be triggered. She knelt in the middle of a circle of ancient Shari runes, breathing slowly, her body glowing with soft blue light. Jake stood across from her, eyes closed, focusing. She reached into the bond, deeper than she ever had, into Jake's memories. His soul, and he did the same. They saw it all, his lonely nights on Earth Station, her childhood beneath the cold moons of Shar, trained to never feel, his fear when they first met, her curiosity when she first heard his voice, his anger, her silence, his pain, her compassion, and finally, their choice. Not fate, not law. Choice. To stay. To hold on. To love beyond species. Beyond fear. And then they sent it out. The pulse exploded from their minds like a star going supernova. It traveled through space. Through walls. Through fleets. Through minds. Judicator ships froze. Pilots fell. To their knees. Weeping. Diplomats gasped as memories not their own rushed into their heads. Soldiers saw Jake and Sari holding each other under falling snow. Children saw Sari smiling as she watched old Earth cartoons in secret. 1,000 species across the galaxy felt what the bond was, what it really meant. It wasn't control, it wasn't disease. It was the one thing that united minds with no common blood. Connection. Inside the Judicator flagship, Talvarn trembled. Her voice cracked for the first time in centuries. Impossible, she whispered. They linked the core of the bond with the human. A younger Judicator officer beside her had tears in his eyes. High Judicator, he said. What if this is what comes next? Talvarn said nothing. She stood, and she turned off the weapons. Back on the shuttle, Jake collapsed. Sari held him in her lap, her glow dimming. He opened his eyes. Did it work? Sari smiled faintly. They saw. All of them. The comm lit up again. This is Talvarn. We will not fire. The galaxy must choose its own future now. The bond is no longer forbidden. The channel cut. Hours later, the stars were quiet again. Ships drifted away, and for the first time since they had met, Jake and Sari were truly alone, but not hiding, not running, just together. They sat at the front of the shuttle watching the stars. Jake looked at her hand. Still want to call this casual? He asked with a grin. Sari leaned her head on his shoulder. No, she said. Now it's forever. Jake chuckled. I don't mind. Roommates for life? Sari smiled. No, mates for life.